Joining us now are two national leading experts in elder abuse prevention, social worker Daniel Reingold and attorney Joy Solomon. So, now let me start with you. You say this is a national epidemic. It goes far beyond nursing homes. What gives? What's going on? Why now?
Dr. Oz, 50 million people in America are over the age of 65, and 10,000 people are turning 65 every single day of the year. And we are dealing with an enormous growth in the population. And the problem is that older adults are hidden away from view in our society. We don't embrace older adults the way we should. Growing old unites all of us and unifies us, and it's something that all of us have in common regardless of our backgrounds. And there are so many of us turning 65 every day, and we live alone or we're isolated. And so the abuse that was caught on camera, this outrageous abuse, is dwarfed by what's going on in people's private homes. The abuse that's taking place in their own private homes without supervision, without family members like the people we just met earlier who were so devoted to their grandfather. It's not happening in people's own homes as well. So it's a demographic situation.
Joy, this goes beyond physical abuse. There are other types of abuse that you're dealing with professionally.
Yes, so there's financial abuse and financial exploitation, which is the largest form of abuse that's happening. Over $2.9 billion a year is taken from older adults in financial scams, telemarketing scams from family members and trusted others. There's psychological abuse, which includes belittling, shaming, threatening older adults. There's also sexual abuse against older adults. And certainly we want to support the right for older adults to be engaged in sexual expression, but we want to make sure we're protecting older people from being sexually assaulted, and we need to pay attention to that. And often those forms are happening more than one at a time. So oftentimes, you know, where there's physical abuse occurring, there's also likely some psychological abuse as well.
How do you tell if someone dear to you is actually being hurt?
Yeah, so there's some important signs. One is certainly the isolation of older people. As Dan mentioned, so many older adults are living alone in the community, and when they're isolated, oftentimes we don't really know what's going on. So isolation is an important sign. Change in patterns. Many older adults typically follow the same patterns, and when you see a change in pattern, for example, they're not able to pay their bills and they had been before, or their affect and their medical condition is really shifted, but there's no medical explanation for it. It may be that they're not getting the food that they're supposed to be getting. Someone's taking their money so they can't buy their food. Another example might be them not having access to their assistive devices. So an older adult who may need a cane for mobility, one way to control that person is to take that cane away. So you want to be paying attention to that.
How do you pick the right spot, Daniel? How do you pick a nursing home that's right for someone that's raised you?
Well, first of all, let's remember that most of the care that people receive in nursing homes today is compassionate and kind and caring. What we saw in the film is outrageous and despicable. And in my 27 years, I've not seen something like this. But most of the people that are caring for our older adults are compassionate and kind people. What I recommend that people do is, first of all, get informed. There are many options that people can have for long-term care. One of them, obviously, is a nursing home. Others are assisted living, home care. There are more and more options becoming available. And, but if it's a nursing home that somebody's looking for, my preference is a nonprofit nursing home, a facility like ours that is interested in the mission of the work we do, and rather than making a profit. And so I think that's an important consideration. In the United States, there's a website called Nursing Home Compare, which is run by the federal government, which gives people information about the inspections that have taken place. And more importantly, for this particular issue, the staffing levels. One of the biggest problems in long-term care today is to find good, qualified people who want to do this work. And so look carefully at the staffing ratios or staffing levels of a facility. And then, of course, visit, talk to the staff, talk to the families, use the 5 senses that you have. Listen to the way that residents are being spoken to by staff. Smell the facility. Taste the food that they're eating. See how they're being touched by the caregivers. Use your common sense.
So I'm just going to offer some final thoughts, everybody. Well, just like parents have to check in on kids, we have a moral obligation to check in on the elderly. It's the circle of life. We're all going to be there. It is the one unifying element of humanity these days.